Hi, Greg DeVore here from Screensteps with Crystal Kadakia from LCD Group. And we're going to talk now about learning cluster design and strategic performance objectives. When you are creating a strategic performance objective, there's an outcome you want in your business. What does it look like if you're following an LCD model to surround that person or that learner with learning assets? So let's talk first about what a persona is, because I thought that was really interesting, your model, how you really focus in on the personas.
Yeah, absolutely. So, say you set this performance objective now, right? Which is your goal for the overall learning cluster, that overall set of assets. You know that because I'm delivering these multiple assets, I have greater confidence that I can change on the job behavior. The next piece of that is really understanding who matters to achieving that SPO and who matters most. And that's where we get into our learner to learner differences action. The main deliverable of that action is to create learner personas. Again, if we contrast this to kind of our traditional models, we typically focus on a single target audience, and we investigate that target audience very in a lot of different ways. Some people just stick with what their stakeholders have told them their audience is. Other people try to do a little more investigation. Even in some of our newer models like design thinking, when we're talking about learner personas, it's usually more from a user experience standpoint. So we do it differently. When we think about learner personas, we're thinking about that on the job change we want to see. And if we were to make some hunches or hypotheses on who contributes the most to that business pain, or who, if their capability was improved, would help us achieve that goal. So we make some hunches on some different groups, and it might not be strictly based on demographics like the usual norms, like level or experience or whatnot. It might be based on motivation, different motivations or different mindsets or different use cases of how someone actually performs that capability gap. So, if we use the time management example, you might find that someone who's in a project manager role has different time management types of concerns than somebody who's in an individual contributor, works on their own, not on projects type of role. And you might decide your learner personas that way. So learner persona, and then of course you go and you test that hypothesis. You might do interviews, you might do surveys, and you really try to understand from those interviews, what is their relationship to the capability gap? What are their challenges specifically to achieve those on the job behaviors? And what types of learning assets are they most likely to use? What are their moments of learning need? What does their flow of work look like? Again, a project manager's day to day work life might look very different from that individual contributor. And we often find in our interviews that we start to hear the same things over and over again as we do these kinds of learner interviews. And we get a lot of really great learning asset ideas. So, in the past, we didn't do as much digging into our audience to understand the more than one target audience that lives within any particular learning initiative. And we didn't necessarily tie those learning assets, our choices on how we deliver training, to the people who are going to be using it. We often, to be frank, honestly just do what L&D already knows or thinks is cool. We'll go to our tried and true kind of triad of e-learning, bite-sized videos, and a job aid. Well, there's a lot more than that you can think about with learning assets. And so that's how our learner personas really marries up with our change objective and then gives us clues for what learning assets we want to choose that would make up that meaningful cluster.